Athens, 399 BCE. A city that called itself the birthplace of democracy. A city that celebrated wisdom, reason, and truth. And yet, this same city would soon sentence a man to death. Not for violence. Not for betrayal. But for asking questions. Questions so simple, yet so dangerous, they threatened the very foundation of society. His name was Socrates. Socrates didn't look like a revolutionary. He wasn't rich. He wasn't powerful. He didn't command armies or write famous books. In fact, by most accounts, he was quite ordinary. A bald head. A rough, almost unattractive face. Barefoot, wandering through the crowded streets of Athens. You might pass him without a second glance. But if you stopped, if you made the mistake of talking to him, you might leave questioning everything you thought you knew. Because Socrates had a gift. Or perhaps, a curse. He saw through illusions. And he had a habit of gently, patiently, tearing them apart. Socrates didn't preach. He didn't lecture. He asked. What is justice? What is courage? What does it mean to live a good life? Simple questions. At least, they seemed simple. Until someone tried to answer. A politician might confidently define justice. But within minutes, Socrates would guide them into contradictions, exposing the cracks in their certainty. And the crowd would watch. At first, they laughed. There was something almost amusing about it, seeing powerful, respected men stumble over their own words. But Socrates wasn't mocking them. He was revealing something deeper. Something uncomfortable. That certainty is often an illusion. Over time, the laughter began to fade. Because what Socrates was doing wasn't just embarrassing individuals. He was challenging Athens itself. Its values. Its beliefs. Its sense of identity. And then, something even more dangerous happened. The youth began to listen. Young people gathered around him. They admired his courage. They repeated his questions. They began to challenge authority. To question tradition. To think independently. And to those in power, this was no longer harmless philosophy. It was a threat. Because a society built on unquestioned beliefs cannot survive being questioned. Eventually, the tension reached a breaking point. 3 men stepped forward. They accused Socrates of corrupting the youth, and of not believing in the gods of Athens. But beneath those charges was something far more personal. Socrates had humiliated them. Exposed them. Made them feel small. And now, they wanted him silenced. So they brought him to trial. The courtroom was filled. Hundreds of citizens gathered to decide his fate. No lawyers. No dramatic defenses. Just Socrates, standing alone. 70 years old. Facing death. And yet, he showed no fear. No desperation. No attempt to beg for mercy. Instead, he spoke. Calmly. Clearly. Fearlessly. He told them that he had spent his life serving Athens. Not with wealth or power, but by encouraging its people to think. To question. To seek truth. And then, he said something that shocked everyone. He claimed that instead of punishment, he deserved a reward. Free meals for life. Because he had been a benefit to society. The reaction was immediate. Laughter. Shock. Anger. How could a man facing death be so defiant? The jury voted. Guilty. Now came the final moment. Socrates was given a choice. A way out. If he agreed to stop teaching, to stop questioning, he could live. All he had to do was remain silent. But Socrates understood something most people don't. That silence can be a form of betrayal. And so, he said no. Because a life without truth was not worth living. His sentence was death. By drinking poison. In his final hours, his friends gathered around him. They were heartbroken. Desperate. They begged him to escape. They had a plan. Everything was ready. But Socrates refused. Because even now, he chose to stand by his principles. To respect the laws of Athens, even when they were unjust. And so, in a quiet prison cell, he took the cup. Drank the poison. And as his body slowly weakened, he remained calm. Peaceful. Until the very end. Athens believed they had silenced him. But they didn't understand something fundamental. You can kill a man. But you cannot kill an idea. And today, more than 2,000 years later, his questions still echo. Challenging us. Unsettling us. Forcing us to think. So now, the question is yours. If you had been there, would you have chosen truth? Or comfort?